how to outwit the devil and stop him from making your life a living hell. I'm going to talk to you in this episode about this. It's going to help you if you feel like you have too many problems, you can't reach your goals, or you're having one problem, one reoccurring problem, one constant problem that keeps like staying in your life, that keeps repeating itself, or maybe you have an addiction or you have a fear, and this is the way that the devil gets his grips on you. In this episode, I'm going to tell you how to outsmart the devil and make sure you prevent him from making your life a living hell. Most of what I'm going to talk to you about in this episode is going to be taken from the book from Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil. This is the same author that wrote Think and Grow Rich, but this book was hidden for 70 years. And for 70 years it was not published until the author was dead, and then only it was published. That's because the content of this book is extremely powerful. And I made a part 1 on this book. If you want to listen to it after this one, it's okay. You don't need to listen to them with the first part first and the second part first. And if you're new here and you're wondering, who's this guy? Why should I listen to you? My name is Ivaldi. Welcome. I went from being a broke personal trainer to working with millionaires around the world and building up my own business now to soon 7 figures. And on this podcast, I document my journey. I document what I learned to help you become truly free and successful. Have a great life. If you are an entrepreneur, an ambitious entrepreneur, if you want to grow as a person, if you want to become your best you, that's what I help you do. Become truly free and successful. Have no more fears. Have no more things that prevent you from living the life that you want to live. If this interests you, you're going to love this podcast. And so I encourage you to subscribe. But if you think it might distract you more, that it might help you, don't subscribe. But if you think, hey, I'd like to have more of this kind of content on my YouTube page, subscribe. And if this episode helped you, like and share it with someone else. It will help them as well. So let's get into it. I'm going to read to you my notes, the most important things I learned from this. And don't forget to take quick notes on your phone or whatever, right? Quick notes, and make yourself an action list, right? An action to-do list, so that you can actually change your behavior based on what you learn here. This way it's going to actually change your life. Let's get into it. So there is no such thing. By the way, just a little bit of context on the book. What is the book about? It's Napoleon Hill having an interview with the devil. And basically there's some kind of way that he found to make the devil just tell him everything about how he operates, right? If you don't believe in the devil, if you just, there's a negative force, right? Something that prevents you from, maybe it's even inside of you, right? So Napoleon Hill asks questions and interviews the devil on how he proceeds, how he tries to make people fail, tries to make people become afraid, right? He tells everything about how he operates, so you can basically know his techniques and prevent him from making your life a living hell. So there's no such thing as luck. There's just cause and effects. But when they are too far away from each other, then people talk about luck or miracle. Everything having a real existence is capable of proof. And this I really experienced in my life. You don't really realize that it is not luck in the midst of things, but when you look back on things, when you have context and you can take some higher viewpoint, you can see that there's no luck involved. It's just action and reaction. That's it, cause and effect. And so this is something really important to know, because you might think some people can think they're just doomed because they're just unlucky, right? They have bad luck. No, it's just cause and effect. There's a cause. Sometimes you have bad luck. You think it's not your fault. You have nothing to do with it. Sometimes you don't have something to do with it, but someone did. So there's cause and effect. And maybe at one point you did have something to do with it. So the same law of hypnotic rhythm can be used to get people to drift and become drifters, or can be used for positive thoughts of opulence and prosperity. By the way, I'm going to tell you exactly what all of this means, right? Because you don't know what hypnotic rhythm is, I'm going to tell you in a second. If your mind fears poverty, your mind will attract poverty. If your mind demands opulence and expects it, your mind will attract it. Will attract the physical and financial equivalence of opulence. This is in accordance with an immutable law of nature. The law of hypnotic rhythm. What is it? Hypnotic rhythm is the law with which, at least this is how Napoleon Hill explains it, or the devil explains it. It's the law by which a habit becomes a rhythm, and it becomes so habitual, so hypnotic, that it's almost impossible to break. It's a habit. It's a habit that became so ingrained in yourself that your body is just used to do it, or your mind is used to do it. Your mind is constantly like, I make sense of this by thinking as well of the feedback loop, right? So you think about something, and this something makes you think about something else. Or, for example, you think, oh, I'm not good at talking to people, and so you think this, and so then you act based on that, right? I'm not good at meeting people, so you're going to act as someone that is not really good, not comfortable, and so you're going to have the experience, and so this thought is going to be reinforced. So you're going to, oh, I'm really bad at talking to new people, and so it's going to be reinforced. I'm really bad at talking to people. I'm really bad at talking to people, and so this becomes a feedback loop, and this. The more you think this, the more you think this. And so the more you think this, and the more you're going to become bad. And so it becomes a negative feedback loop. And so this is also a hypnotic rhythm. You become habituated. Like you become used to think this always, constantly. And at one point it becomes so habitual. It's like a rhythm in your mind. And at this point, it becomes very, very hard to break. What you want is to control this feedback loop or hypnotic rhythm. This law, it can work for you or against you. And so you want to make it work for you. And so have maybe positive thoughts, have positive habits, something that actually helps you. And so you can do it more and do it more, create a habit. I'm really good at meeting new people. Whoa. And so you act in accordance with this. And you try, and then you have a positive experience, or maybe you have a negative experience, but you rewrite this experience, and you try to look for the positive. So then it becomes, oh, I'm not that bad at meeting new people, eh? I'm pretty good. I'm really good. I'm really confident. I'm so good. And then the more experience you have, the more this hypnotic rhythm becomes stronger, and so it reinforces you so much that it becomes a habit that is very hard to destroy. You become so confident, like it's almost impossible to make you feel doubt. This is the law of hypnotic rhythm, and this is basically the tool to help you, the tool the devil uses for you to have the law of hypnotic rhythm be used against you, is that he tries to make you drift. Drifting means that you drift away from the right path. Non-drifters are people that are committed. They have definiteness of purpose. They know what they want, they're going to get it. And they don't do, just a little bit, and they don't just procrastinate or anything like that, right? They don't do that. Now these are very rare people. These are 2% of the population against 98% of the drifters. This is what the devil says in the book. And so you want to become part of the 2%. Now I don't think it's either you are a drifter or you're not a non-drifter. There's a spectrum, right? So a lot of people are very high on the drifting spectrum. They do tons of bad things. They're just really hesitant. They have they're just completely indecisive. And they have no purpose whatsoever. They just drift through life. And the non-drifters are the people that know what they want, they go and get it, right? They are decisive, they're committed, they don't drift away. And so to help you drift, the devil uses fears. He uses love. He uses all sorts of emotions and all sorts of tools to help you drift. The goal of the devil is to help you drift. To drift and then make it so that the drifting that you do through the law of a hypnotic rhythm becomes so hard to stop that you just continue to drift. And you continue to drift. And then the devil gets a hold of you. Next, the very first step a drifter must take to break the habit is the habit of drifting, is a burning desire to break it. And also, whatever you have, use it or you will lose it. Sometimes I stop recording, videos in English. I'm French, so I stop speaking English. And so my English gets worse. This is also a law. Whatever you don't use, you will lose. But the law before this, the thing that he tells you before this is a burning desire. This is what it takes to break the habit of drifting. For example, you have a habit of drifting and you eat food that you shouldn't eat, right? The first step to break the habit is a burning desire. A desire so strong to break the habit. That's what it takes. How do you create such a desire? For me, at some point, everybody will have this burning desire when they hit a point of no return. They hit the point of, it became too bad. My weight is too much right now. I can't stand this. Like this is too much. This is not acceptable. And so at this point they realize that they just like, okay, no. One of my cousins, he's overweight. And so at one point he was, going up the stairs to get back home, and he felt like he was like almost having a heart attack. He felt like, okay, I'm just too tired right now. My legs are shaking and I just like, it's too hard. I feel like I'm going to go down right now. And this was the point at which he was like too much in pain, which created a burning desire to become healthy, a burning desire to not die and be here for his daughters, right? When they grow older, because he's going to die and let them fatherless. This is what it took to make him realize. Sometimes you have to hit a point of no return, but you can also create desire by just realizing and really realizing your current situation and really be truthful and honest. And then raise your standard. Just decide to not accept anything less than that. It becomes like part of your identity. I'm just this type of person that just doesn't drift. I'm committed. I don't hesitate. I don't eat sugar, right? I'm not this kind of person. I'm disgusted by that. I'm disgusted by where I am right now. And this is creating a burning desire to just move on. You are where you are and what you are because of your thoughts and your deeds. Your thoughts precedes your actions. So what you are right now, wherever you are right now, is just because of your thoughts and your deeds. This is important to know because then you can control your thoughts. If you can control your thoughts, then you can control your deeds. If you can control your deeds, your situation will change. This is how the law of hypnotic rhythm works. If I know what I want from life, demand it, and back my demand by a willingness to pay life's price for what I want and refuse to accept any substitutes, the law of hypnotic rhythm takes over my desire and helps by natural and logical means to transmit it into its physical counterpart. Let me repeat that, because it's really, really important. If I know what I want from life, right, I demand it. I accept nothing less. And I back my demand by a willingness to pay life's price for what I want, to do the things I need to do, right? And refuse any substitutes, refuse just anything less than that. Then the law of hypnotic takes over, the law of hypnotic rhythm takes over and helps you, like, actually achieve that. Like, the action that you're going to take are going to make you have certain circumstances in your life work for you. Like, God will help you. This is what it says. Now let's get into chapter 7, Seeds of Fear. Fear is one of the best tools that the devil uses to keep people in prison. When you're afraid, you feel not free. And so you feel like you're imprisoned. Every home, every place of business, every town and village, in every street and community center has its own definite, discernible rhythm. This has nothing to do with fear, by the way, I think. Maybe we'll get to fear in a little bit. Basically, just fear is one of the ways the devil tries to make you imagine scenarios that could go wrong and makes you hesitant. He makes you hesitant and he keeps you stuck and he makes you just not take action. And this is the worst place you can be. Hesitation is one of the worst states you can be in. So next up, every home, every place of business, every town and a village, in every street and community center, every one of these things has its own definite, discernible rhythm. If you wish to know what a difference there is in the rhythms of streets, take a walk up Fifth Avenue in New York and then down a street in the slums. All forms of rhythm become permanent with time. Sometimes there's a rhythm, some kind of almost like vibration, frequency, something like that, right? This sounds a little too new agey, but whatever. Like, I think it's true. And by the way, I'm a Christian, right? So I'm not too much into like new age stuff. But I do believe like there's a vibrational frequency. There's a frequency like in your voice, right? In how you, and there's atoms and there's like things that you can't see that are true, right? The wind, you can't see it, but it's true. But vibrations are the same thing to me. And so there's a certain vibrational frequency, a certain rhythm, just in how people walk in the street. In Paris, it's like very fast. People don't have time. And here, it's more like chill. And so every form of rhythm becomes permanent with time. This is basically telling you that your environment is going to get you. Your environment is going to hypnotize you through its rhythm. It's going to influence you to have the same rhythm, to be a part of your environment. It's going to grow on you sooner or later, with time. Nature forces upon the minds of men the influences of their environment, which are stronger than the individual's own thoughts. Children are forced to dig on the nature of all influences of those around them unless their own thoughts are stronger than the influences. Nature sets up a definite rhythm for every environment, and everything within the range of the rhythm is forced to conform to it, right? You are forced to get into the same rhythm. Only man has the power to establish his own rhythm of thought, providing he exercises the privilege of being able to have your own rhythm before hypnotic rhythm has forced upon him the influences of his environment. So if you want to not have the same rhythm than the people around you, you need to force it consciously before it gets a grip on you. If you, for example, I was really afraid at one point in my life to get a job. To get a job because I knew the people that had a job had the worst life I hated. Had the life that I just didn't want anything to do with. And so when I went to my job, I just constantly tried to remind myself, okay, I can become an entrepreneur. Okay, I can be free. I don't think like these people. These people are negative. I don't like them. They think it's not possible to succeed. I don't want to think that. And so I was constantly trying to not be influenced by them. This is why I was so scared of getting a job, because I knew I would be influenced by them with their doubts. And I didn't want to talk about any of my goals, any of my of anything entrepreneurial, because they believed it was impossible, and they really did, and they pushed this belief on you. And I had just so much fear that they would influence me. So I would just constantly just remind myself, like, I can do anything that I want. I can become an entrepreneur. And I wanted to just, I never really talked with anyone about anything like this, anything money related or goal oriented to anybody at any job. I just wanted nothing to do with them. I just went, did my job, and actually this is why I never really had a job. I just worked like 2 weeks as a server, a bartender, and that's it. Like 2 weeks, 2 times in my life. That's it. Never worked again, and I think I never will have a job working for someone else, especially at a bad company. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible. I don't go back in, because sometimes it's tempting to have the security and safety of a job, and the predictability of a job, and the lesser responsibility, like responsibility in being a business owner and being an entrepreneur. It's stress. It's a lot of stress. Anyway, so we must use our own thoughts and the law of hypnotic rhythm ourselves, thinking the thoughts we want strong enough, and repeat them with definiteness of purpose before the environment forces its influence on us. To make sure you succeed, you must use the law before your environment influences you, and also make sure your environment will influence you in the right way, according with your definiteness of purpose. With your definite purpose. This is what we say. Like, if you want to become an actor, if you want to become someone in Hollywood, you need to go in Hollywood. You need to go in Los Angeles, right? You want to become like your environment will influence you. So you want to choose carefully what environment you put yourself into, so you can grow more like this environment. Now, if you go into an environment, you want some part of it, but you don't want the other part. You need to use the law of hypnotic rhythm on yourself, on your thoughts, and remind you constantly of the things that are true for you. If you want to go in Hollywood, but you're not some of the woke people. You don't want to be woke. You don't want to be influenced in that way. You need to remind yourself why this is not good. You need to remind yourself daily and be around these people, because they have a good part of, they are like in the industry, they are good actors, they have the work ethic or anything like this, but you don't want some other part of their beliefs. So you need to work on yourself and be constantly reminding yourself of what you believe or why this is not true, and just not care about this. Or maybe have your own rhythm of being healthy, not partying, right? Because people in Hollywood are constantly partying and just doing stupid things. Maybe, I don't know, I'm just saying, for example. Well, you need to do the opposite, right? And you need to set it up before the environment influences you. The person who thinks in terms of power, success, opulence, sets up a rhythm which attracts these desirable positions. The person who thinks in terms of failures, defeat, discouragement, and poverty attracts these undesirable influences. This explains why both success and failure are the result of habit. habit establishes one's rhythm of thought, and that rhythm attracts the object of one's dominating thoughts. This is basically explaining the law of attraction, right? You think about something, it becomes a habit of thinking this, and then it creates a action. This is the part that most people miss. You need a certain action. You cannot just think it and it's going to happen. This thought manifests itself in actions, or maybe just thinking a lot something will make you behave even unconsciously at one point in a way that you want, and then it's going to make you take action, and then this will attract the object of your thoughts. And to be honest with you, at one point I noticed that every time I thought about the mosquito in my room, it came to me. When I didn't think about him, it didn't bother me. So maybe there's an actual thing of vibration something that creates in your mind, like when you think something, it creates an actual thing that has some kind of magnetism and attracts it in the outside world. I don't know, something like this is my way of conceptualizing it. Chapter 8, definiteness of purpose is the most important thing. You must love definiteness of purpose more than love itself, especially for someone else, because this could be used as a bait for drifting. Love is one of the tools the devil uses to make you drift, because you love this person so much you're going to do anything, right? You don't have any reason anymore. And so this is why you must love definiteness of purpose more than anything else. This is the most essential thing to love, to have the habit of having definiteness of purpose, knowing what you want and going after it. That's the main thing. It is better to act upon a bad plan with definiteness than to act on a great plan with indefiniteness. A bad plan has a way of becoming a good one when applied with definiteness of purpose. The only difference between a sound plan and an unsound plan is that the sound plan may be carried out more quickly than the unsound one. But if you carry it with indefiniteness, with uncertainty, it's not going to be well. The bad plan is going to be better if you apply it with certainty than the bad one, than the great one with uncertainty. So now, knowing this allows me to be more decisive, because I'm like, well, there's not much risk in making this decision because I just need to make the decision. The risk is actually not making the decision fast enough. That's the risk. So now I'm afraid of not making the decision fast enough, so I'm going to make decisions very fast. Now, of course, if there's some important things, some life-changing situation, or moving somewhere or anything like that, I will take some more time to get the information and then make the decision based on the information I have. But apart from this, if you, on the day-to-day basis, decisions fast is what matters. Taking action fast as well. The love for anything or anyone, save only the love for definiteness of purpose, may become dangerous. Love is a state of mind which becloud reason. And also beclouds, it reduces willpower and blinds one to fact and truth. Everyone who becomes self-determining and gains spiritual freedom to think his own thoughts must examine carefully every emotion that seems even shortly related to love. Show me what any person loves most, and I will show you how that person can be influenced to drift until I bind him with hypnotic rhythm. This is the devil talking, right? If you love so much food, this is the thing that the devil is going to use to make you drift. If you love so much movies, this is the thing that the devil is going to use to make you drift. If you love traveling, this might be the thing. If you love girls, right? If you love men, this is the thing that the devil is going to use to make you drift. So be careful. You must not love anything else but definiteness of purpose, knowing what you want and getting that, going toward that. You must love this more than anything else. Because if you do love the other thing more, you're going to be more easily influenced by the devil to drift and go off course. The law of definiteness of purpose is a good law, but like anything good, it carries something bad at the end. The law of compensation is a result of definiteness of purpose. When someone gains power through definiteness of purpose, he may be tempted through greed, power, and overriding other people's rights. And the reclamation is made by filling the mind with other people's mind, right? So the reclamation, so the opposite, the negative side of definiteness of purpose is made by filling the mind with greed for power and the love for of egotistical expression until the individual falls into the habit of violating the right of others. Then, this is what the devil says, I step in with the law of compensation and reclaim my victim. Every principle of good carries with it the seed of an equivalent danger. All habits, save only that of the love of definiteness of purpose, may lead to the habit of drifting. So if you love anything else, then the habit of definiteness of purpose, it may lead into a bad thing. Now, even the law of definiteness of purpose has the seed of an equivalent bad, not just the equivalent bad, right? That comes with it. So if you have definiteness of purpose, there's nothing bad that you take from it immediately. But ultimately, there's the growth, there's the seed, the possibility for greed, the possibility for using the power that you accumulate for bad. And so this seed can be very dangerous. So you must be careful. You must always have definiteness of purpose and guard yourself against making this seed grow. The 7 principles through which human beings may force life to provide them with spiritual, mental, and physical freedom are, so these are the 7 principles, the main principles that are, I think, the most important ones in the book. And so these are the things that you may use to get what you want. 1. Definiteness of purpose. 2. Mastery over self. 3. Learning from adversity. 4. Controlling environmental influence and associations. 5. Time. Because it gives permanency to positive. And giving permanency to positive rather than the negative thoughts, habits, and developing wisdom. So this is what time allows you to do. It gives permanency to things, basically. 6. Harmony. Acting with definiteness of purpose to become the dominating influence. I don't know what I wrote here. 6. Harmony. Acting with definiteness of purpose to become the dominating influence in your own mental, spiritual, and physical environment. Harmony. 7. Caution. Thinking through your plan before you act. These are the 7 main things that you can use to get what you want and at the same time not be drifting. Not be taking the wrong path and not let the devil make you suffer or imprison you. And so there's then the chapter on self-discipline. And I think this is one of the most important things. So I'm going to read to you exactly from the book right now. Lack of self-mastery is of itself the most destructive form of indefiniteness. This is the devil that says, that is obligated by Napoleon Hill to say the truth, right? And so Napoleon Hill then asks him, it's a question. Where should one begin when making a start at control over self? Answer: by mastering the 3 appetites responsible for most of one's lack of self-discipline. The 3 appetites are: 1. Desire for food. 2. The desire for expression of sex. 3. The desire to express loosely organized opinions. Self-mastery contemplates sufficient control over the appetites to enable one to feed them what they need and withhold food not needed. Describe the details through which I may understand how and under what circumstances people overfeed the appetites. Answer: take the desire for physical food. For example, the majority of people are so weak in self-discipline they fill their stomachs with combinations of rich food which please the taste but overwork the organs of digestion and elimination. They pour into their stomachs both quantity and combinations of food which the body chemist can dispose of only by converting the food into deadly toxic poisons. These poisons clog and stagnate the body's sewer system until it slows down in its work of elimination of waste matter. After a while, the sewer system stops working altogether and the victim has what he calls constipation. By that time, he is ready for the hospital. Auto-intoxication or body sewer poisoning takes the machinery of the brain and rolls it into something resembling a wad of putty. The victim then becomes sluggish in his physical movements and mentally irritable and fuzzy. If he could only take one good look at and one bad smell of his sewer system, he would be ashamed to look himself in the face. This is what he talks about, like the first thing, the first appetite for food. This is the first, what he calls this, the first appetite that you need to gain control of. If you don't have control over the appetite of not eating bad food, it's going to be very hard for you to not fall into the devil's trap and drift. Now there is a force, this is still the devil answering. Now there is a force with which I master the weak and the strong, the old and the young, the ignorant and the wise. In fact, I master all who neglect to master sex. Question: how can one master the emotion of sex? Answer: by the simple process of transmuting that emotion into some form of activity other than copulation. Sex is one of the greatest of all forces which motivate human beings. Because of this fact, it is also of the most dangerous forces. If humans would control their sex desires and transmute them into a driving force with which to carry on their occupation, that is, if they spent on their work 1/2 the time they dissipate in pursuit of sex, they would never know poverty. Extremely powerful stuff here. Question: do I understand that you to imply there is a relationship between sex and poverty? Yes. Where sex is not under definite control, if allowed to run its natural course, sex will quickly lead one into the habit of drifting. Is there any relationship between sex and leadership? Yes. All great leaders in every walk of life are highly sexed. but they follow the habit of controlling their sex desires, switching them into a driving force behind their occupation. Question: just what damage is there in overindulgence of sex? Answer: the greatest damage is that it depletes the source of man's greatest driving force and wastes, without adequate compensation, man's creative energy. It dissipates energy needed by nature to maintain physical health. Sex is nature's most useful therapeutic force. It depletes the magnetic energy, which is the source of an attractive, pleasing personality. It removes the sparkle from one's eyes and sets up discord in the tone of one's voice. It destroys enthusiasm, subdues ambition, and leads inevitably to the habit of drifting on all subjects. How dangerous is this? And you can see if you're someone that struggles with this mastery of the emotion of sex, you know this is true. Like, you know this is true. This is true also for, like, when you see the big people, for example, even like President Roosevelt, and how he acted, and he had such, like, people that have such high energy and amazing voices, right? And they act like this. They have this control of their impulses, and this is the impulse that they control best, or at least that they definitely control. Question: I would like for you to answer my question in another way by telling me what beneficial ends the emotion of sex may be made to attain if mastered and transmuted. So this means that you need to not only not act on your impulse of having sex, but also you need to transmute it, and instead of using this energy for that, using this energy for your work and being very energetic and excited to work and to create something great. So answer: controlled sex. So these are the benefits. Controlled sex supplies the magnetic force that attracts people to one another. It is the most important factor of a pleasing personality. It gives quality to the tone of voice and enables one to convey through the voice any feeling desired. Just think how important this is, right? If you can give any feeling you desire through your voice, you can influence people, and you can sell, and you can have, like, big influence. And you cannot have it if you don't control the emotion of sex. It keeps the nervous system charged with the energy needed to carry on the work of maintaining the body. It sharpens the imagination and enables one to create useful ideas. It gives quickness and definiteness to one's physical and mental movements. It gives one persistence and perseverance in the pursuit of one's major purpose in life. It is a great antidote for all fear. It gives one immunity against discouragement. It helps to master laziness and procrastination. It gives one physical and mental endurance while undergoing any form of opposition or defeat. It gives one the fighting qualities necessary under all circumstances for self-defense. In brief, it makes winners and not quitters. I encourage you to re-listen to this part and all these benefits of controlling the emotion of sex, of not being addicted to social media online and looking at girls. If you're a man, or if you're a girl, maybe you do this with men. This is very important. If you're not controlling, or even if you're married and you don't control the emotions of sex, and you just, have sex every second, you're not gonna have these benefits, right? So this is extremely important. I really encourage you, go back and listen to it again, and ingrain this in your mind so that you think about it, and so you act in accordance with these thoughts, and then you actually have all these benefits. Question, tell us now about the third appetite, and let's see what it has to do with self-discipline. Answer, the habit of expressing loosely organized opinions is one of the most destructive of habits. Its destructiveness consists in its tendency to influence people to guess instead of searching for the facts when they form opinions, create ideas, or organize plans. The habit develops a grasshopper mind, one that jumps from one thing to another but never completes anything. And of course, carelessness in the expression of opinions leads to the habit of drifting. From there, it is only a step or two until one is bound by the law of hypnotic rhythm, which automatically prohibits accurate thinking. If you are constantly just giving your opinions and you're not sure, but you talk about what you don't know, and you're just saying whatever comes in your mind, like you feel like something and you just speak it, and you don't speak concise, like very specific things, and give ideas and opinions are well formed using facts and not just whatever you heard, then you have the habit of not thinking. And this is the main thing that the devil loves. He loves people that don't think for themselves. This is who he controls. He controls people who don't think for themselves, people who just have control of their mind and can think for themselves. He cannot control them because they can see, right? They can do whatever they want. They can control their brain. Question, what other disadvantages are there in free expression of opinions? Answer, the person who talks too much informs the world of his aims and plans and gives to others the opportunity to profit by his ideas. Wise men keep their plans to themselves and refrain from expressing uninvited opinions. This prevents others from appropriating their ideas and makes it difficult for others to interfere with their plans, right? You're just giving away too much. Oftentimes, I know I do this. I talk too much about what I want to do. I express my thought. Like when I talk to people, I have this habit of just, if they ask me, telling them what I'm going to do. And sometimes I just go overboard. I just tell them too much. I tell them exactly my plan and what I'm going to do. And this I know makes me feel like, oh, I should have not said that. Question, why do so many people indulge in the habit of expressing uninvited opinions? The habit is one way of expressing egotism and vanity. The desire for self-expression is inborn in people. The motive behind the habit is to attract the attention of others and to impress them favorably. Actually, it has just the opposite effect. When the self-invited speaker attracts attention, it usually is unfavorable. I remember this. At one point, we were gathered, there were like 50 people, a group of 50 people gathered around, and we were going to eat. And at one point, there was someone, the leader there, speaking, and someone just raised their hand and just gave their opinions. Like, just literally. They gave their opinions and it just had a discourse that had almost nothing to do with what the leader was talking about. And they just said that. And I know everybody at this point didn't like this person. They just talked when nobody asked them for nothing, and they just gave their opinions like that for no reason. And you could see it was just to show off his ego and show off what he wanted to say. It's cringy when you see it, but sometimes you don't realize you're doing it. You're doing it maybe not like that in just a context like this. Like this is pretty obvious. Like most people I think can sense that this is not something that they should do. But when you're just talking with just another person, and you just speak about something like trying to almost it's oftentimes to just show off, right? Or gain credibility. Trying to prove something. You talk too much. You show off your plans, and especially when people didn't ask you, it doesn't interest them. And so people like you less. Question. What other disadvantages has the habit? Answer: the person who insists on talking seldom has an opportunity to learn by listening to others. Right? That's true. You want to be the person that speaks less and asks more questions to learn. And I know I just almost never do this. I rarely do this. I almost always have this bias in my mind that people don't have nothing to teach me, when it's really not true. And I've had many times the opportunity to just ask question, even to people that were making a lot more money than me, and I didn't ask them question. I feel like I have this bias to think that they don't have anything to teach me specifically for my situation. And yeah, so try to not speak as much and listen to be able to learn. Any form of adversity brings a seed for an equivalent potential benefit. This is the opposite of, definiteness of purpose brings the seed of a big danger, right? Here, any adversity, anything that you struggle with, brings a seed for an equivalent potential benefit. Usually the seed consists of some form of knowledge, some idea or plan, or some opportunity which would not have been available except through the change of thought habits forced by the adversity, right? You have a big problem and now this makes you have to change. Like it makes you think about something that you didn't think before. And so it allows you to change. There are people that naturally harmonize and some that clash naturally. The rule of a leader is to put the right people that will harmonize together toward the aim of a definite purpose. They know how to associate minds which harmonize naturally. You already, like, for sure, you have met someone that you just felt like, I don't like this person, right? And this is because you're not in harmony, right? And you have met someone that once you met them, you just feel like you're their friends immediately. These are minds that harmonize. You want to put people like that together. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily that from the get-go it's going to be harmony, but they must have the potential of harmonizing together. So this is the way you can put together a team of great people that will work together in a great way. A negative relationship, because he was talking about relationships, and positive relationships get you something positive out of it, and negative relationship means that some party has a negative effect from it. And to bring harmony to this relationship, the party causing the negative effect must change, or the person must be changed. One of the greatest benefits of adversity is that it can lead people to break the law of hypnotic rhythm, which could be set in a negative way, enter into the positive habits and into a positive law of hypnotic rhythm. This is why I told you in the beginning, sometimes to change, you must hit a point of no return, right? You must have such a great adversity, right? Realize that, you were going to die right now. And so you need to make a change right now. It's time. This is the greatest benefit of adversity. It can lead you to enter into a positive law of hypnotic rhythm and break the negative hypnotic rhythm that you were in. The greatest benefit of adversity is that it may, and generally does, force one to change one's thought habits, thus breaking and redirecting the force of hypnotic rhythm. Failure is a blessing when it forces one to depend less upon material forces and more upon spiritual forces. Many human beings discover their other selves, the force which operates through the power of thought, only after some catastrophe deprives them of the full and free use of their physical bodies. When a man can no longer use his hands and his feet, he usually begins to use his brain. Thus, he put himself in the way of discovering the power of his own mind. This happened to me. I worked too much on my computer. I had adversity come my way. I injured my hands, and so I couldn't work anymore, right? I worked on the computer and I couldn't work anymore right now on my computer. So it forced me to actually think. And so at this point, I went into a different environment in a silent room, and I just started to think with my brain. And it helped me gain control over my thoughts and be able to understand how my mind worked. And this was extremely useful. And it also allowed me to start working smarter on my business when I worked on the computer, and use the few hours I had to work on my computer, because I couldn't work too much because I injured my hands, and to use them wiser, like in a wiser manner, and make sure I work on the right things instead of just working around with not much thoughts. No one can change the law of hypnotic rhythm or gravity, but they can change themselves and their habits. Harmony is when you can access someone else's brain. And then you can also access the infinite intelligence when you are in harmony with someone. To me, I view this as a Christian, I view this as when one or two are gathered in my name, there I am, right? Which is, you pray with someone, and then you can actually access ideas. Ideas come your way, and you have some kind of more like spiritual power, some instinct that you have that you didn't have before, that allows you to have access to God telling you whatever you need to hear. And here he talks about it as the infinite intelligence. A proper relationship between people is one that brings to all connected with it or affected by it some form of benefit. If someone doesn't bring any benefit to you or to someone else affected by the relationship, it is useless. If it's negative, you better stop the relationship. So this is pretty straightforward, right? Sometimes you might be in a relationship with someone because someone you really like wants you to be in this relationship, and so this is the benefit of having this relationship. But if it benefits to no one, it is useless. It doesn't necessarily need to benefit you personally, but it has to benefit someone. If it doesn't, it's useless. An improper relationship between people is one which damages anyone or brings any form of misery or unhappiness to any of the individuals. Improper relationships can be corrected by change of mind of the person causing the improper relationship, or by changing the person to the relationships. I already said that, I think. Life gives no one immunity against adversity, but life gives to everyone a power, the power of positive thought, which is sufficient to master all circumstances of adversity and conditions. And this is really true. If you do really are able to control your mind and think positively, most things you can just get past. The main difference between successful people and non-successful, they have mastered the habit of drifting. They have definite policies, definite plans, definite objectives. Their opposition, which may outnumber them very greatly, has no chance against them, because the opposition has no plan, no purpose, no policy, except that of drifting along, hoping that something may turn up to help them. In those 3 brief sentences, you have the sum and the substance of the difference between success and failure, power and lack of it. So let me read this back to you. Successful people, they have mastered the habit of drifting. They have definite policies, definite plans, and definite objectives. Their opposition, even if they outnumber them, they cannot do anything against them because they don't have all these things. They have no purpose, no plan, no policy. They drift along, hoping that something will change. And so, here's again a reminder of the 7 principles for outwitting the devil in your life. Definiteness of purpose. You can write them down. It's very useful. Definiteness of purpose. Mastery over self. Learning from adversity. Controlling environmental influences. time, right? Because time, by the way, I didn't talk about this, but when you do injustice, when you do wrong things, time eventually catches up with you. And on the long term, you may win right now by cheating, by lying, but on the long term, it always comes back to you. And this is what it says also in the book. So, definiteness of purpose, mastery over self, learning from adversity, controlling environmental influences, time, harmony, which is acting with definiteness of purpose to become the dominating influence in your own mental, spiritual, and physical environment. And 7 is caution, thinking through your plan before you act. Hope this was extremely useful to you. Please apply it. If you liked it, share it with someone. Share it with someone that you think it might help. And I'll see you in the next one. If you haven't watched it yet, watch the first part, because I tell you about the other self that is extremely important in the first part of the book. Here it was just the second half of the book, and I talk about the first half of the book in the first part. So go watch it, and I'll see you there. Take care.